Hey everyone, this is part 2 of my question and answer video series. It began with a video asking for people to ask me questions, and then the previous video was just me answering questions for about 25 minutes. So I'm going to do about another 20 minutes of answering questions. If you have any questions that haven't been answered, feel free to post them in the comments, and I may put them in the next question and answer videos. So here we go. The first question is from Ahmed05122. What was your major moneymaker? My major moneymaker has been merchanting. I did make some money from dicing, and a pretty significant amount, but overall it's definitely been merchanting. I've made far more from merchanting than anything else. The next question is from datguybenyeah. How many Castle Wars games did you play versus how many did you AFK? It's hard to judge, but when the Castle Wars high scores were initialized, they were initialized how many tickets you had, and I had around 4,200. And I'd played most of those games, so that's probably somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 games. Maybe, I mean 2,000 at minimum, probably, yeah, probably 2,500 or so. But since then, I have AFK'd far more than I've actually played, so maybe I've played about 4,000 Castle Wars games total now, and at the moment I have about 11.4k Castle Wars games completed according to the high scores. And then the second question by the same guy is how many tickets do you have? And I'm not quite sure, I haven't checked in a while, but I believe I have about 11k tickets. I'm not quite sure because I keep it in Castle Wars reward items. The next question is from Sins187. Do you think Slayer drops like whips, dboots, rune boots, and so forth should have their prices fixed or restored to what they were, similar to what they did with climbing boots? Do you think it would be the right thing to do to make Slayer more profitable? I think Slayer could use some more profit because it's a great skill, and it trains so many other skills. It's like the core skill in Runescape, in my opinion. But I don't think fixing prices is the right option. Climbing boots was a huge mistake, at least in my opinion. It made almost no sense because climbing boots weren't actually traded for those amounts, and it wasn't future-proof in that now climbing boots are more expensive than boots that are meant for higher levels. So I think that was a pretty fail update. I think that if Jagex wants to make Slayer drops more profitable, they have to do something to remove items from the game, like what they had with the old Bounty Hunter, where if you killed someone you get item drops, but they wouldn't be the items that you killed the person for. Maybe if they made a new boss where you always lost items when you were fighting it, although I guess that wouldn't help for most items, it would just help for a select few. But yeah, they could make mini-games or ways to trade in items, just things to get items out of the game. From strkszone. If you could suggest one big piece of advice to Jagex about a future update, what would your top priority suggestion be and why? My top suggestion, just for updates in general, would be to think more about how they'll affect people who have already done existing content. Try not to screw over people, maybe give more compensation to people who have already done stuff. That's, yeah, pretty much it. And just try to make stuff more logical. A lot of the updates just don't make any sense. From Stefan Says Channel, do you think Jagex will make range as overpowered as mage in 2012? The only range update that I've heard that's been planned for 2012 is Dragon Crossbow, and I really can't imagine that'll be much better than a chaotic crossbow. I think it would have a special attack, but even if it does, that's not that great. And yeah, mage with ganodermic and Storm of Armadillo is incredibly powerful, so I doubt they'll make range more powerful than that. Not to mention, melee will always have good defense against range, so even if they make range really good, it won't really be as overpowered as mage. From UberTim2, refer a friend, Effigies, Urns, etc. If these were put to the vote, would you have wanted them in the game? Probably not, no. They're just easier ways to get experience without adding any real new content. So, I mean, Effigies are fine, but I think they would have been better off if they'd only made them dropped from really high level bosses, things that you couldn't really camp to collect them, or that wouldn't be worthwhile. I think things like ganodermic beasts and cave crawlers sort of ruin skilling because if you can just canon for a better experience than skilling, it sort of defeats the purpose of having skills, or at least having skills that you can train normally. From RSTZXI, what have you bought with loyalty points? I've only bought a couple rewards. I bought a few things for my player-owned house. I bought the Robin Hood colored hats and a couple other small things. The only aura that I've bought is the fishing aura, because it was the most expensive one that was discounted to the same price. It normally cost, I think, 5k, and it was discounted to 500. And all of the other auras that were discounted in that first week only cost like 4k at most, so it made the most sense at the time. I'm planning on saving my loyalty points until they come out with the tier 4 auras, because hopefully some of those will be good. These two questions are related. The first one is, when did you decide to finish everything completable in the game by erratic Jagex? And Fatal Dirge Vids asked, what inspired you to go for practically total completion of RS? I mean, I wasn't really trying really hard for it. It was just, I did things bit by bit. When I finished one minigame, I'd go on to another. And yeah, I just sort of ended up doing most of the stuff. Nothing really inspired me. It was just what I did after maxing rather than going for overall experience or other goals. From Entwined by Vengeance, how does it feel that they modeled pretty much the trimmed Completionist Cape's requirements on your achievements? My achievements were pretty much the completable things in RS, so I mean, it was the stuff that I had done, but it was also the stuff that was completable, so it wasn't really modeled off of my achievements. I could explain a bit more in depth about that, though. When Mod Crisel was thinking about making the Caves of Distinction, he made a post in the high-level forum asking for suggestions, and the original suggestion was to have just a max cape and then an uber cape. The Uber Cape pretty much is what became the normal Completionist Cape now, and I suggested that they come out with another cape that was even better than that, and I posted a list of suggestions for the requirements for it, and that pretty much became the trimmed Completionist Cape. There were a few changes, like not adding the fish flinger requirements, and a few other small things that they didn't add, but yeah, that's pretty much how that came about. And from, this is also related, from IAR440, did you know about the trimmed Completionist Cape before it came out? Is that why you had almost all the reqs for it? I knew about it in that Mod Crisel posted later on in that same thread. He said something like, and don't worry Castle Wars, there will be something for you too. But I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, and I already had all of those requirements, so yeah, that's not why I had them. From RT Jackham, can you make a guide for comp cape / trim cape requirements? I might be able to do some. If you suggest specific ones that you'd like to see, maybe I can do those. There already have been a lot of guides for different trim cape requirements, so I wouldn't really want to make guides if there are already widely known methods for them. From Sodapop554, is it possible to get a Completionist Cape in under a year from a new account by playing under 6 hours a day? I'd say no, but I'd have to go through the numbers. Yeah, but I'd say no, just as a guesstimate. From Epic Nerds LOL, how in the hell did you find the time to do 5k Castle Wars games? That's the only reason I won't ever want to trim my Completionist Cape, LOL. Castle Wars games were a nice just AFK thing to do while I was doing stuff in real life or browsing forums. I did AFK quite a lot of my games, and it's just a nice activity if you're not really wanting to pay attention to RS. But yeah, it does take a while, but no more time than it takes to get a lot of 200 mil skills, so it's not so bad. From Tribal Mask 1, RuneScape name Elphenom, what requirement for the trimmed Completionist Cape did you enjoy the most, and which did you hate the most? And how long did it take to get the cape? I'll answer the how long did it take first. I actually get that question quite a lot. but it's sort of hard to answer because I already had all of the requirements when it came out, so yeah, I really have no idea. The other question is the requirements, which one did I enjoy the most and which did I hate the most? A lot of people probably think that I'll say Castle Wars games because it was such a long requirement, but I actually didn't mind the Castle Wars games because it was sort of AFK and not so bad. But I'm actually looking at a list of trimmed completionist requirements here, and not including the time that I had to do all of them for, so just how fun they were on their own. I'd say the best activities were leveling up the followers and temple tracking to level 99. That was pretty good, and it only took a day or two. And besides that, I think defeating the champions for all the champion challenge scrolls, I think that was pretty good. It was like having a nice, long, easy Slayer task. So, yeah, those two were probably my favorite. And my least favorite, I don't know, chompy hunting is really boring. So, probably chompy hunting. Yeah, I didn't like that very much. It was a lot of clicking and a lot of paying attention, and you couldn't really stop, otherwise the chompies would stop coming, and yeah, it was better to have just a constant stream of the toads to make it good. The next question is from Yrezifiti. It's probably a better way to pronounce that. But the question is, if you could add one more requirement to the trimmed completionist cape, what would it be? Well, besides adding like 10k Castle Wars games requirement to troll people in the high level forum, or at like 50 or 100k post count on the RS forums, an actual legit requirement that I'd want to add would be the highest level fish flinger tackle box. I'm not sure why that wasn't added originally. It was probably some technical thing, but yeah, I think that would make the most sense to have that. Next question, I actually should have read this one in advance because I sort of answered it, but it's from BM1 of a million, and the question is, was getting 5k chompy kills tedious? And it definitely was. I didn't like killing them very much. From Old Soul Young Body, the question is, any old friends that still play RS? I do know some people from a long while back. Most of them have already quit, but there are definitely still quite a few, or at least a few, who still play. Not a whole lot, though. From the Chrissy99, when did you enjoy this game the most? Has the game become less exciting over time? I'd say it has become less exciting because there are less new things, because, yeah, I've done most of them. I think it was probably most exciting maybe after I got members, and everything was new, just doing all the new stuff. Starting from scratch. I think that was probably the most interesting time. Although it's hard to judge because that was so long ago and I don't quite remember it exactly. Maybe I'm just making it seem better than it was. From RBK Status Z, when did you think Runescape was at its best? Like when the economy was good and there were less bots? RS definitely wasn't at its best when they had fixed trades where you could only trade through the GE, or you had the trade limits. That wasn't very good. But I think maybe a year and a half before that, there were less bots, and I think it was pretty good back then. I mean, I think it's still pretty good. It's gone downhill a little bit, just some poor decisions on Jagex's part and all of the advertising stuff. But yeah, it's still not bad. From Preezy Lee, he or she actually has 3 questions. The first one is, what are some really good tips for maxing out? I'd say plan out your skills in advance and try and make money on the side while you're doing other stuff, like merchant, or just do what you can to keep money coming in so you can spend it on other skills. But yeah, plan out stuff in advance. Do your AFK skills and make sure you're thinking about how you're going to get everything else done, what order to do it in, what quest to do to unlock stuff. Read guides on the RS forums or on other forums. Just, yeah, look at a lot of different methods and pick what's best for you. The second question is, would you donate any money to me for going for trimmed completionist? I don't give donations, no. Third question, you said you needed to do some dungeoneering. Can I dunge with you? I don't dunge very much, but when I do, I've got some friends who I'd be dunging with, so probably not. No, sorry. From Primal Matt, what are your binds for dungeoneering? At the moment, I've got a Primal Two-Hander, Primal Plate Body, Shadow Silk Hood, I think Law Runes, although it could be Cosmics, I haven't been there in a while, and I have a Gold Precision Bracelet. I'd like to get a Hex Hunter bow, but I've never actually seen one dropped in 120ml Dungeon experience, so yeah. Those are my current binds. From Puff Pure, which skill is in most need of an update, and why? I'd say smithing could really use a major overhaul because it's pretty much useless. All of the armor that it makes is completely outdated for high levels. I mean, you can fix the DFS and make a dragon plate body, but that's not really useful at all. I think they should just shift all the stuff down a lot and make some high level stuff for smithing. I think being able to upgrade armors and making them untradeable would be good. Maybe add damage reduction to armors because we definitely need it. Weapons are quite overpowered. From Buzzluck, do you think ganodermic armors are overpowered? I'd say yes, quite a lot, although they're sort of odd because they're overpowered for meleeers, but I think they're fine for mage. Mage is supposed to be good against melee, so giving ganodermic armor's melee defense is fine, but they should have compensated for it so that meleeers couldn't use it, because at the moment it can be used by meleeers to kill mages just as easily as it can be used by mages to kill meleeers. So yeah, they should have given it negative melee offense, and they should have given it stab defense, because without stab defense it's sort of useless against high level meleeers, which was its point. It was supposed to be good against them. So yeah, it could have used some more thought behind it. The next question is from Heaven Door Guy. What is your favorite boss to hunt? Which of the next armor sets do you find to be the most useful? My favorite boss would be Jad, although that's not one that you really hunt, I guess. I mean, you can't really camp it or anything, but I think it's my favorite boss. We'll see about this new Jad update, though. I'm looking forward to that. And then my favorite next armor set, or the one that I find the most useful anyway, would probably be Torva, because I melee more than I range or mage. Although when I do Castle Wars, I often use Burnix because I like using bolas to crush people in the rocks. That's a lot of fun. From Zero Leonard Zero, why don't you stake to get your rare set? Staking is very risky. And I'm not really one to take big risks like that. And stakers always seem to end up getting clean, so I'd rather not do that. And then the final question for this video is from Krispy Kreme, and the question is, have you ever been hacked? I got hacked once, and it was, I believe, it was in April of 2011, so last April. It was a little bit weird, and I'm not 100% sure how it happened, but I'm nearly positive that it was through the Jagex recovery system. And I'm not quite sure how they did it, but I'm pretty sure it was someone exploiting a bug with the system, because there were a few other high-level people who complained in the high-level forums about getting hacked at around the same time as me. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on their end, and I couldn't have done anything about it. My recovery questions definitely were not guessable, so there's no way that someone just guessed my recovery questions and used that to recover my account. I didn't lose anything, though. They didn't have my bank PIN, and the only thing that they did was gave away my account in World 2 so that I wouldn't be able to see their IP address, and the person who got my account ended up just deleting like half of my friends list, which was sort of annoying, but yeah, it could have been a lot worse. And yeah, that's it. I've still got a bunch more questions to answer, and if you have any more questions, just post them in the comments and I'll probably put them in the next question and answer video. Also, I've got a link in the annotations as well as the description here to my previous question and answer video, so if you haven't seen that, take a look. And yeah, keep an eye out for my next max hit video, which should hopefully come out later today.